Hello everybody, this is the first class for JEE Advanced. Today we deal with vectors and error analysis. So let us begin with the theory aspect, just to give a brief knowledge about the concepts. So the first thing that we talk about is a physical quantity. So now what is a physical quantity? So anything which we can measure is regarded as a physical quantity. Now what we do is we categorize this physical quantity into two aspects. We call one as a scalar quantity and the another one as a vector quantity. Now when we say that the physical quantity is a scalar quantity, then we mean to say that it is represented only in terms of its magnitude, and its magnitude gives us the correct explanation about what the quantity is about to tell us. And in case of a vector quantity, we have a magnitude as well as direction. We have both these aspects. We already know a lot of examples of scalar quantity like distance traveled, speed, current, pressure, and for vector quantities we have electric field, magnetic field, force, momentum vector, angular momentum. So when we talk about the representation of vector. So when we say how to represent a vector, so we say that a vector is represented in this format by drawing an arrowhead. This is graphical representation where the length of this arrow gives us the magnitude and the direction in which it is pointing gives us the direction of the vector. And in algebraic expression we write vector as a vector is equal to ax I cap plus ay j cap plus az k cap, which implies that ax along x axis, ay along y axis, az along z axis, and we write magnitude of a vector as ax square plus ay square plus az square square root. And since we write that a vector is written in terms of a magnitude and a direction, so we can also calculate the unit vector in the direction of a vector. So unit vector in the direction of a vector can be written as ax I cap, ay j cap, az k cap divided by its magnitude, which is ax square plus ay square plus az square. Now we talk about vector addition. So if we talk about vector addition, we mean to say if there are two vectors and they should be added vectorially. So the graphical method is saying if the two vectors are in order, this implies that the head of one vector is touching the tail of another vector, then the resultant is the third side of the triangle but in opposite direction. This is regarded as triangle rule. Similarly, we can also apply parallelogram rule. So if there is a vector and there is a b vector, so one rule suggests that we complete the parallelogram. So in order to complete the parallelogram, we draw a parallel vector to b vector and we draw a parallel vector to a vector. Now the resultant vector is the diagonal line passing from its common tail to its common head. So this is going to be the resultant vector r vector, which is equal to sum of a vector plus b vector. Now let us talk about the component of a vector. So if there is a vector which is making an angle theta, suppose with the x axis and this is the y axis, we say this angle is theta. So if we break the component of a, then this one will be regarded as a cos theta and this will be regarded as a sin theta. So if we write a vector by breaking its component, we write it as a cos theta I cap plus a sin theta j cap. So over here we dealt with the graphical method of vector addition. If we go with the algebraic formulation, like if there is a vector and there is a b vector and the angle between them is theta, so we write the equation of resultant as magnitude of a square magnitude of b square plus twice magnitude of a magnitude of b cos theta square root. So this is how we write the equation for resultant vector. So if we look at this from this point of view, that this is a vector and this is b vector, and if suppose the question asks what the resultant, find the angle which the resultant makes with the a vector, suppose phi angle is asked. So we can also write tan phi is equal to b sin theta upon a plus b cos theta. So this is the equation for the angle of the resultant with one of the vector, and the angle theta over here is the angle between a vector and b vector, which I already mentioned. Then we move to the next aspect, that is vector multiplication. So if there is a multiplication of vector, so if suppose we have a vector and a scalar quantity, suppose there is a k, a number, and there is a vector ax I cap, ay j cap and az k cap. So if we write what is ka, then we simply multiply this parameter over here, k ax, k ay and k az. This is scalar multiplication of vector, and then there is a cross product method. So let us deal with the cross product method. Now for multiplying two vectors using cross product, one aspect which we use is right hand rule. So if we multiply like this, then we say that the direction will be treated as positive, and if we go in this direction, we say that the direction will be treated as negative. I mean to say that if we are writing I cross j, we will write it as k cap with a positive sign. So we are going in this direction, so I cross j will become k. And if I write j cross I, so now we are going in this direction, this will be negative, so we write it as minus k cap. So if we have two vectors which are to be multiplied using cross product technique, suppose there is a vector ax I cap, ay j cap, az k cap, and there is another vector b vector which is written as bx I cap, by j cap, bz k cap. So when we write a cross b, the definition says magnitude a, magnitude b, sine theta, and then there is definitely an n cap, which is the direction for the vector we obtained, because the cross product of two vector is a vector quantity. So what we do is we solve this kind of thing using a determinant box. So we make a box I cap, j cap, k cap. The parameters of a, that is ax, ay and az, will become this second row, and then this will become the third row. So if we open this determinant box, we will obtain the result of a cross b. So if I write it, we can write it this way: I cap ay bz minus az by minus j cap ax bz minus bx az plus k cap ax by minus bx ay. So this is how we write the formulation for a cross b. Now a cross b also represents the area of the parallelogram which is formed by the two vectors a vector and b vector. Let us deal with the another aspect, dot product of the two vectors. So what do we mean to say when we say that we are multiplying vectors using dot product technique? So when I say that we are writing a dot b, the definition is a b cos theta. So over here we get a very important result, that if the theta is 90 degree, then a cross a dot b will become 0. So for two vectors which are perpendicular to each other, dot product is 0, and if dot product is 0 and the vectors are not null vectors, then they are making a 90 degree with each other. So if we write for a vector ax I cap, ay j cap, az k cap, and b vector bx I cap, by j cap, bz k cap, then we write a dot b simply as ax bx plus ay by plus az bz. Using this we obtain the equation for the dot product of the two vectors. Now we deal with the another aspect of this portion we are covering. This is dimensional analysis. Now for dimensional analysis, it's a very basic aspect of physics. We say that there are 7 fundamental quantities, and we express the other quantities in terms of the dimensions of these 7 fundamental quantities. Now these 7 fundamental quantities we have are mass, length, time, temperature. We write it as k or theta. Then we say current. We write it as A or I. Then we write amount of substance, which is also called as mole. Amount of substance, which we write it as mole. And luminous intensity, which is written as candela. Luminous intensity, which is written as CD, candela. So these are the 7 fundamental quantities we have, and whenever we express a physical quantity, we try to write it in terms of these 7 fundamental quantities. Just for your recap, I am just writing the dimensional formula for force. Force is written as ma. So dimension of mass is m. Acceleration can be written as Lt to the power minus 2. So we get the dimensional formula for force as m Lt to the power minus 2. Now if suppose dimensional formula for gravitational constant is asked, so we take g m1 m2 by r square. So if I ask to find the dimensional constant of gravitational constant, so we write m Lt to the power minus 2 is equal to g m square by l square, and then we can calculate g as m to the power minus 1, L to the power 3, T to the power minus 2. So this is the basics of dimensional analysis. If a formula is dimensionally incorrect, then that formula is incorrect, and if the formula is dimensionally correct, then it may not be correct formula. Then we have to check for the other parameters if the formula is correct. So this is one of the aspect of physics. Then the next parameter which we discuss is regarded as error analysis. Now in error analysis, whenever we measure any quantity, there is some error associated with it. Suppose I am measuring length of a substance, so I write that length of the substance is equal to, suppose, like 3 plus minus 0.1, and I write over here as centimeter. So this is the error which can come in while measurement of length is taking place. So when we say that we are performing an experiment, suppose we are performing experiment for the calculation of acceleration due to gravity. So if I write time period of simple pendulum using simple pendulum, then we write 2 pi root over L by g, and I can write it as t square is equal to 4 pi square L by g. So g can be expressed as 4 pi square L by t square. So if I write the error in the measurement of acceleration due to gravity, then we write delta g by g is equal to. Now this entire parameter is constant, so it will not contribute for any error. 4 is a number, pi square is a constant, it will not contribute for any error. These parameters will contribute for the error, like delta L upon L plus twice of delta T upon T. Now it should be noted over here, it doesn't matter whether the parameter or the physical quantity we are measuring is in numerator or denominator, or it is having a positive or a negative power. We write it this way, that delta G or any other quantity which is measured, the errors are always added, and it is added in this way. If the percentage is asked, then we multiply this by 100. So this is the entire idea or the basics which is just done for your recollection, so that you can recollect back the theory aspects. So with this we complete the theory part of the first lecture which we will be discussing, that is vectors and error analysis. Let us deal with the more than one type questions, which is the first segment of 10 questions. We are dealing with the first question. Which of the following quantities are independent of the choice of orientation of the coordinate axis? So we have two vectors, A vector and B vector, and we need to answer out which of the following will not change with the orientation of the coordinate axis. So if I were to take two vectors, if I draw, suppose this is A vector, and if I draw another vector like this as B vector, and we can select the coordinate system. So currently I am choosing this as x axis and this as y axis. Now the question is asking which of the following parameters is not going to change. So if we talk about the sum of the two vectors magnitude, then it is certainly going to remain the same. It is not going to change. So the first parameter, that is the magnitude of A plus B, is not going to change. They are independent of the choice of orientation of vectors. So first option is correct. If we look at the second aspect, Ax and By, now the component of A vector along x axis and y axis depends upon the angle which A vector makes with the x axis and y axis. So these parameters Ax and By, or Ax, Ay and Bx and By, they both are going to change, that is they are not independent of the choice of orientation of coordinate system. So this option is incorrect. If we look at the other part, then this is also correct, and the angle between two vectors is measured from tail to tail. So even if I rotate these two axes in any direction, suppose I make this axis like this, then also the angle between the two vectors is not going to change. So the fourth option is also correct. So for this particular question, we say that option 1, 3 and 4 are correct alternatives. Let us move to the next question. Given A vector plus B vector plus C vector plus D vector equals 0. So there are 4 vectors. The sum of them is 0. Which of the following statement is or are incorrect? So the first thing is A, B, C and D must each be a null vector. So this is a trivial type of solution. Each must be a null type of solution, so it will become a null vector. The magnitude of A plus B must be equal to the magnitude of B plus D. So if I write this equation, we can write A vector plus B vector plus C vector plus D vector equals 0. If I rearrange this, I can surely write A plus C is equal to minus of B plus D vector. This implies that magnitude of A plus C and direction of this vector, I am calling this as N1, is equal to magnitude of B plus D, and then there will be a direction N2 cap where N1 cap must be equal to minus N2 cap,
and the magnitude of A plus C must be equal to magnitude of B plus D. So option 2 is correct. The magnitude of A plus C equals in magnitude to B plus C. The magnitude of A vector can never be greater than the sum of the two vectors. So if I draw this in the vector form, if I write this is A vector, this is B vector, this is C vector, and this is D vector. So we can clearly say that the sum of the four vector is 0. So if we use the vector law of addition, so we can say that the sum magnitude of A can never be greater than the sum of the magnitude of this, because if we use triangle law of addition over here, then I say this is A plus B, and then A plus B plus C is equal to D. So sum of any three vectors magnitude will never be greater than the fourth vector. So option 3 is correct. The magnitude of A or any other vector can never be the sum of the three individual vectors. B vector plus C vector must lie in plane of A vector and D vector if A vector and D vector are not collinear, and in the line of A and D if they are collinear. This is again correct opinion. It will cancel out each other. This statement is saying that if these two vectors are anti-parallel to each other and if these two vectors are anti-parallel to each other, then the resultant will be 0. A will cancel out C, B will cancel out D. So either they must be lie in the plane of A and D if A and D are not collinear, and in the line of A and D if they are collinear, then only the sum will become 0. So fourth option is also correct. So for this particular question, option 2, 3 and 4 are correct alternatives. Let us move to the next question. The dimensions of the quantities in one or more of the following pairs are the same. Identify the pairs. Torque and work. Now if I quickly write the formulation, then torque is equal to R cross F and work done is equal to F dot S. They both have the same formula. This is cross product, this is dot product. So they both will have same dimension, correct? Angular momentum and work. Angular momentum is mvr and work is F dot S, or I can write it as half mv square. So they two are not going to match, incorrect. Energy and Young modulus. Energy can be half mv square or F dot S. Young modulus is stress by strain, which is force upon area. Again they are incorrect. Light year and wavelength, they both are length. So they both will have dimension L. So this is correct. So for question number 3, option 1 and 4 are correct alternatives. Let us move to the next question. The vector I cap plus x j cap plus 3 k cap is rotated through an angle theta and doubled in magnitude. Then it becomes 4 I cap plus 4x minus 2 j cap plus 2 k cap. Then what are the values of x? We are asked the possible values of x. So let me teach you a little bit of theory around this rotation of vector. If we consider something like this, that there is an r1 vector and it is rotated by an angle theta and converted into r2 vector, and if I draw another vector joining these two, I call this as delta r vector, then I can write from here that this, if the two sides are in order, then the resultant is the third side but in opposite direction, or r2 vector can be written as r1 vector plus delta r vector, or delta r can be written as r2 vector minus r1 vector. So if we use the magnitude calculation, then we write r2 square plus r1 square minus 2 r1 r2 cos theta square root. We write a formula like this, and then we say if they both have the same magnitude, if suppose r1 equal to r2 is equal to L, then we will get delta L is equal to 2L sin theta by 2. So this is generally what we use in case of rotation of vectors, but in this particular case the question is saying the vector is rotated through an angle theta and doubled in magnitude. In here we are considering that the magnitude is same, so if the question is saying that it is doubled in magnitude, so I calculate the magnitude of the previous vector. So if I calculate the magnitude of initial vector, suppose r1 magnitude, then we say 1 square plus x square plus 3 square square root. And if I calculate magnitude of another vector, then it is 4 square 4x minus 2 ka whole square plus 2 square square root. Now it is saying it is doubled. So we can say twice the magnitude of r1 is equal to magnitude of r2. This is the first working formula which we have. So we can do one thing, we can directly fix the values of x and get the desired result. And then the next thing can definitely be obtained using a working formula like this. So on solving we obtain option 1 and 4. option 1 and 4. These two are the working formula we have. So for this particular question, option 1 and 4 are the correct alternatives. Let us move to the next question. Question number 5. If dimensions of length are expressed as, it is expressed in terms of h, c and g, which are considered as fundamental constants, where g is the universal gravitational constant, c is speed of light and h is Planck constant, then we have to find the values of x, y and z. So I am just giving you the way it should be done. Now the first thing that is important is that we know the individual dimensions of g, c and h. Now to do this, what we do is, if I write from here f equals g m1 m2 by r square, then I can say that f is equal to ml t to the power minus 2. G is something we don't know, m square by l square. So from here we get dimension of g equals m to the power minus 1 l cube t to the power minus 2. Now speed of light c is equal to l t to the power minus 1, and if we use E equal to h mu, then we write E is equal to m l square t to the power minus 2. H we don't know, and this is t to the power minus 1. So dimension of h will become m l to the power 2 t to the power minus 2 minus of minus 1 plus 1 m l square t to the power minus 1. So we have the three individual dimensions h, c and g. Now to express length, we write it this way. We frame a formulation like this, that L is proportional to V. Should add a constant. Over here I am neglecting constant for the time being. G to the power x, c to the power y, h to the power z. So L can be written as, G can be written as m to the power minus 1 L cube t to the power minus 2 power x L t to the power minus 1 power y dot m L square t to the power minus 1 power z. So if we solve for x, y and z, we will consider that x will be coming as half, z will be coming as half and y will be coming as minus 3 by 2, and we will get that for question number 5, option 2 and 3 are correct. Let us move to question number 6. A dimensionless quantity y is represented by the formula y equals a minus bc upon d plus e. So the moment we look at the formula, we can say a few things without even seeing the option, that if y is dimensionless, now the two quantities can be added and subtracted only if they have the same dimensions. So dimension of a must be equal to dimension of b and c. Similarly, dimension of d must be equal to dimension of e. Moreover, since y is dimensionless, so it implies that the dimension of the numerator and dimension of numerator must be same. So we can say that dimension of a is equal to dimension of b, c, dimension of d, and it is equal to dimension of e. Now if we look at the statements, statement 1 is saying dimensions of d and e are same, correct? A, B, C and D, E will have same dimension. A, B, C and D, E will have same dimension. So if we multiply these two, if the dimension is x, we get x square, we get x square again. So they have same dimension, again correct. Dimension of BC upon AE plus D is dimensionless, this is incorrect. A and D will form a parameter which cannot be subtracted from D. DE plus BC is not meaningful. DE plus BC is not meaningful, this is again incorrect. This is also incorrect. So the two alternatives which are correct are option 1 and 2 respectively. So for question number 6, we go with option 1 and 2. Let us move to the next question. Let epsilon naught denote the dimensional formula of the permittivity of the vacuum and mu naught that of the permeability of the vacuum. M is length, M is mass, L is length, T is time and I is electric current. Then we have to find this out. If you remember this, you can directly do it from here itself, that 2 and 3 are correct. If you do not know, I will just give you the working formula. We can use the equation for force for the two charges as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 by r square, and from here we can put that dimension of epsilon naught is equal to q1 q2 upon 4 pi r square f. Now 4 pi is dimensionless. Charge can be written as current into time, so I t square. 4 pi is dimensionless, L square, and this can be written as m L t to the power minus 2. So on solving we obtain m to the power minus 1, L to the power minus 3, t to the power 4, I to the power 2, which is option 2. Similarly, we can use the formula for mu naught as B is equal to mu naught upon 4 pi I dl r square from Biot-Savart law. You can put sin theta over here also. You can use this to calculate mu naught. We will get option 3. So for question number 7, option 2 and 3 are correct. Let us move to the next question. Question number 8. 4 vectors A, B, C and D all have the same magnitude and lie in a plane. The angle between the adjacent vectors is 45 degree as shown. Which of the following equation is or are correct? A vector minus C vector is equal to minus root 2D. So if we subtract A minus C, we mean to say that we just reverse the direction of C. So A will remain in this direction, C will become something like this. Magnitude is same. We will obtain a resultant in this direction. If this magnitude is x, this magnitude is x, this is root 2x. So which is directly opposite to D. So we can say that option 1 is correct for question number 8. If we look at the second alternative, B vector plus D vector, then B vector and D vector is going to yield a resultant along C, and it is also going to be root 2x. So minus root 2c will give us 0. Again, this is correct alternative. So for question number 8, second option is also correct. A vector plus B vector is equal to B vector plus D vector. This implies A and D is same. This is incorrect. A and D are not equal vectors. A vector plus C vector is equal to root 2b, or divided by root 2 is equal to b. So if we add A and C, then the resultant is along B, and if we divide it, then it is also correct. So we can say that for question number 8, option 1, 2 and 4 are correct alternatives. Let us move to the next question. Question number 9. Which of the following statements is or are true about a vector quantity? A physical quantity is a vector quantity only if it obeys laws of vector addition. This is correct statement. Two vector quantities are equal if they have same direction and magnitude, even if they represent two different physical quantities. Now this is incorrect. We cannot equate electric field and magnetic field having same magnitude and direction. The result of scalar product of two vectors is a scalar quantity, not another vector quantity. This is also correct. It should be scalar. Similar to scalar subtraction, the order of the terms in vector difference affects the result. This is also correct. So for question number 9, option 1, 3 and 4 are correct alternatives. Let us move to question number 10. The position of vector of a particle is time dependent, and it is given by r vector equals 5 I cap plus 10 t j cap, where t is the time in second and r is in meter. Choose the correct alternatives. So if we have position vector, then we can calculate velocity as dr by dt. If we differentiate, then we will not get nothing in I cap, 0 I cap plus 10 j cap. So velocity is 10 meter per second along y axis. So we choose the correct alternatives. Then the first option is saying velocity of particle is of magnitude 10, correct. Velocity of particle is of magnitude 125 square root, incorrect. Direction of particle is parallel to x axis, incorrect. It is parallel to y axis. Perpendicular to x axis, correct. Along y axis means perpendicular to x axis. So for this particular question, question number 10, option 1 and 4 are correct. Let us move to the next category of question, which is paragraph based questions. In case of JEE Advanced, some kind of paragraph type question is also asked. So this time we are given a paragraph. The vector difference between the absolute velocities of two bodies is called as the relative velocity. The concept of relative velocity enables us to treat one body as being at rest while the other is in motion with the relative velocity. This concept greatly simplifies many problems. if Va is the absolute velocity of a body A and Vb that of the another body B, then the relative velocity of A in relation to B is given as Va minus Vb, and the relative velocity of B in relation to A is written as Vb minus Va. The principle follows here is that the relative velocity of two bodies remains unchanged if the same additional velocity is imparted to both the bodies. A simple way of carrying out this operation is to represent the velocities in magnitude and direction from a common point. Then the line joining the tip of the vectors represents the relative velocity. So considering this paragraph, we have a problem. Question number 11. A train A moves to the east with velocity of 40 km per hour. So if I draw something like this, then we say that the train A moves to the east with velocity of 40 km per hour and train B moves due north with a speed of 30 km per hour. This is B and this is A. Then the relative velocity of A with respect to B. So according to B, what is the velocity of A? So if we look at this particular aspect, then we say for B with respect to A, this is the magnitude of the vector is going to be the line joining them, and it is going to be 50 km per hour at some angle south of east. Now why some south of east? Because B is looking at A in this direction, which is south of east, like this. So for this particular question, option 3 is correct. Let us move to the next question. A river is flowing from west to east. Again I am drawing this part. A river is flowing from west to east at a speed of 5 meter per second. A man on the south bank of the river, capable of swimming at 10 meter per second in still water, wants to cross the river without drifting. Then he should swim. So from south to north, he is having a speed of 10 meter per second and the river is flowing at a speed of 5 meter per second. Now in order to make sure that he do not drift, he will swim at a certain angle such that the cos theta component of this angle must cancel out the component of velocity of the river vector. So we write 10 cos theta must be equal to 5, or cos theta is equal to half, or theta is 60 degrees. 60 degrees from here means 30 degrees from the vertical. So 30 degrees west of north is the correct option. 30 degrees west of north. So for question number 12, option 3 is correct. Let us move to the next question. Again a paragraph type question. One of the principles of addition of vector is the parallelogram law, which says that if we take two vector A vector and B vector as adjacent sides as shown in the figure, then the other diagonals P vector and Q vector are given by. P vector is in this particular diagram, P vector is written as A plus B and Q is written as B minus A. We have to calculate P square plus Q square. So if we start making the necessary calculation, then we say that P is equal to A plus B. So if we calculate magnitude of P, then it can be written as A square plus B square plus 2AB cos theta. Then P square can be written as A square plus B square plus 2AB cos theta. When we write Q vector is equal to B minus A, then we write magnitude of Q is equal to B square plus A square minus 2AB cos theta. Then Q square can be written as B square plus A square minus 2AB cos theta. So if we add P square plus Q square, we get twice of A square plus B square. So for this particular question, option 1 is correct. Twice of A square plus B square. Let us move to the next question. Question number 14. We have to find the value of P to the power 4 minus Q to the power 4. So we have already obtained these results at the back, that P square plus Q square is equal to twice of A square plus B square. Value of P is A plus B and Q as B minus A. Then if we solve this out, we write it as P to the power 4 minus Q to the power 4. This can be written as P square plus Q square, P square minus Q square, which we can rewrite as P plus Q and P minus Q. So P square plus Q square can be written as twice of A square plus B square. P plus Q can be written as, if we write from here, If we add these two, we cancel out this, we get B. And if we write P minus Q, we get 2B, we get 2A here. So we can simply write over here 2B and 2A. We get 8 times of A dot B, A square plus B square. So it is matching with option 4. For question number 14, option 4 is correct. Let us move to the next question. Question number 15 is match the column type question, and we are asked to select the correct alternatives for the each option on the column 1 with the column 2. We have certain parts over here where A is saying as Boltzmann constant. I am writing working formula for each of them. Boltzmann constant can be written as K, which is equal to ideal gas constant upon Na. Now ideal gas constant is expressed in terms of Joule per Kelvin per mole. Coefficient of viscosity, we can use the formula F is equal to 6 pi eta RV. For Planck constant, we can use E is equal to h mu. And for thermal conductivity, we can say that the rate of heat flow is equal to minus Ka dt by dx. So if we use them, we will obtain something like this, that A matches with S, B matches with Q, C matches with P, and D matches with R. So for question number 15, we can use the working formula, put the dimensions of the known quantities, and we will obtain the dimensions as shown. Let us move to question number 16. Question number 16 is a single integer type question. It is saying if C vector is equal to A vector plus B vector, magnitude of A is 3, B is 4, and A square plus B square is equal to C square, then the angle between C and A is. So we can say that this be A vector, this be B vector, then both must be perpendicular to each other to obtain a C vector like this. Now if these are 3 and 4, then this is definitely going to be 5, and vectorially this is how we represent them. Now angle between them is this. So if I write cos theta, we write 3 by 5 where k equals 5. So for this question, integer type, 5 is correct answer. Let us move with next question. Error in measuring linear momentum of a moving particle is 3%, and that in measuring its mass is 2%, then what is the maximum possible error in its kinetic energy percentage? We can use the working formula P square is equal to 2m kinetic energy. So kinetic energy can be written as P square upon 2m. So delta E by E is equal to twice of delta P by P plus delta M by M. So if we write it as in momentum it is 3% and in mass it is 2%. So we get 8. So 8% is the correct answer. For integer type, 8 is the correct answer. Let us move to the next question. Find the dimension of L in the dimensional formula of universal gravitational constant. So if we find the dimension of universal gravitational constant G m1 m2 by r square, we get dimension of G as m to the power minus 1, L to the power 3, T to the power minus 2. So dimension of L is 3. For this particular question, 3 is correct answer. Let us move to question number 19. The heat generated in the circuit is dependent upon the resistance, current and time. If I write the formula, then energy is equal to I square RT. If the error in measuring the above quantities are 1%, 2% and 1% respectively, then what is the maximum error in measurement of heat? We can write it as delta E by E is equal to twice of delta I by I, delta R by R plus delta T by T. Twice of delta I by I in the measurement of current is 2%, resistance is 1, time is 1. So 6% error is there. So for this particular question, 6 is correct answer. Let us move to the last question of single correct type. If the error in measurement of radius of the sphere is 1%, then what is the percentage error in volume measurement? Volume can be written as 4 by 3 pi r cube. So error in volume measurement is thrice of delta r by r. So if it is 1%, then error in volume measurement is 3%. For this particular question, 3 is correct answer. So with this we end the chapter 1, that is vector and error analysis for physics, advanced section.